too bad that Paul Ryan confessed to being a fan of Rage Against the Machine. By doing so, he not only begged for a bucketing by many of their fans but actually got one from the band's guitar player, Tom Morello. Everybody besides my piano player has been with me since the very first day. We were a four-piece band for a solid 2 years. It was me playing acoustic and rhythm electric guitar, a bass player, a drummer and a lead guitar player. For a couple of years, we sounded like the Foo Fighters. And this whole period of time of gradually working at being a better guitar player and songwriter have gradually led me to the point where I feel I'm doing a clearer representation of the thing that I've been feeling inside me since I was 4 years old. I'm a really big fan of Andy McKee. I think he's an amazing acoustic guitar player, and he's taken the torch from where Michael Hedges left off. Growing up, I was listening to a lot of Metallica, a lot of instrumental guitar music because I started out as a guitar player. A guitar player goes on the road, and he misses his girlfriend for a while, but he manages to get along. A horn player gets out on the road, plays 2 or 3 towns, and then he'll get lonely, and next thing you know, he's packed up and left. It's better not to hire him in the first place. It keeps me in touch with younger musicians who are constantly saying, "Have you heard this new artist, or this new guitar player?" It keeps you reaching. T-Bone Walker was a big influence on just about every guitar player around. I just hate to be in one corner. I hate to be put as only a guitar player, or either only as a songwriter, or only as a tap dancer. I like to move around. I wasn't planning on being a guitar player. I was going to be a singer, and I was for a little bit in the Sex Pistols, that is, until we got John Lydon. And then I realized I wasn't really suited as a front guy. As a musician, I don't think I'm the greatest guitar player. I'm a bigger fan of the drums than I am the guitar. I just happen to play guitar. I play drums almost every day at my house. I wrote a lot of songs behind the drum kit, just having the music and vocals in my head and playing the rhythm. I was a guitar player first off. I'm just a dumb guitar player, man. I always hated jazz guitar. I loved jazz saxophone but I hated jazz guitar. If I would buy an organ trio record I would make sure I'd buy one that did not have a guitar player on it. The sound was awful. Bruce's band is so different from the Grateful Dead. There's no lead guitar player, for one thing. I used to aspire to being more of a traditional bass player, to be honest. People say I play it like a guitar. And I was a guitar player when I was growing up. I started learning when I was 8, and that's what I was fascinated with in my teen years. As a guitar player, it's harder for me to impress somebody than it is to write a song that they like. As a guitar player, you can gravitate to the blues because you can play it easily. It's not a style that's difficult to pick up. It's purely emotive and dead easy to get a start with. I was on the road with my buddy Alex, he's my guitar player, and we watched the movie Click by Adam Sandler. And I don't know why, but me and him just got in our feelings. And then we ended up calling our girls, and we were like, "We're so sorry. We wish you were here." I guess I think like deep inside, I know that it's a different kind of performing. It's not really. You're not performing like a guitar player or a singer is performing, you know what I mean? So it's weird to be in the same type setup as one of those. 'Cause I'm not really doing much, you know. Like technically it's not that hard. My brother, who's 10 years younger than me, worked with me in the studio when he was very young. He's a guitar player and does programming as well. To have the working and personal relationship coincide has been very natural. As a roadie for the Jimi Hendrix Experience, I learned that I should give up being a guitar player. I'm a struggling guitar player. I'm an old guitar player who has fallen into television and is so happy he did. Aqualung marks the point at which I had the confidence as a songwriter and as a guitar player to actually pick up and play the guitar and be at the forefront of the band. It's also the album on which I began to address religious issues in my music, and I think that happened simply because the time was right for it. Chet Atkins is probably the best guitar player who ever lived. Basically, I'm just a guitar player that figured out I wasn't ever gonna be able to buy dinner with my guitar playing. So I got into songwriting, which is a little more profitable business. I've known Sean for several years, and he's just an amazing talent. He's a great writer, a marvelous guitar player, and plays really good fiddle. Every other guitar player was just copying other guitarists. From the time I was 13 up until 18, I practiced at least 8 hours a day, every day. My health suffered for it, I was losing sleep and not eating properly. Charlie Christian played amplified guitar with Benny Goodman's quartet. He was the greatest guitar player that ever was. But he never looked up from the guitar. But I put a little dance to it. They appreciate seein' something along with hearin' something. When I got my first Marshall amp, it was so empowering. No one ever forgets their first Marshall amp if you're a guitar player pursuing a big powerful sound. I mean, no one ever forgets their first Marshall amp. The lousy guitar player in any band is the bass player. I took the rhythm place, which a lot of people didn't know how to do the way I could, and this was really the first time that Johnny had a rhythm guitar player. I've been in a band, so I understand the politics. Sometimes the bass player doesn't like what the guitar player is doing, and you have to sort of even that out. You can be a singer, and you can be a guitar player, but putting them together is another animal. The greatest guitar player in the world today for me is Paco de Lucia, who is actually Spanish. The music I was really listening to in 1968 was James Brown, the great guitar player Jimi Hendrix, and a new group, Sly and the Family Stone, led by Sly Stewart from San Francisco. Inspiration is a really hard thing to describe, but it's something that triggers your brain. Like the first time I heard a certain guitar player that I loved, or the first time that I saw a monster, or the first time that I saw anything that really was an epiphany for me. It just stays with you your whole life. To stay a great singer or guitar player, you've got to do it 24/7. That's what I do. Oftentimes, whenever I do interviews with guitar magazines and we discuss my influences, I mention people like Steve Morse, Alex Lifeson, Al Di Meola, but John Scofield's name never comes up. And that's funny because he's so amazing. He's the epitome of a really cool guitar player. My dad was good friends with the Bad Medicine Blues Band, one of the only blues bands in Fargo, as you can imagine. He took me out to see them play when I was 12 years old, and I was really inspired by their guitar player, Ted Larson. My drummer, bass player, and guitar player sing backgrounds. They play and sing. I can sing all the harmonies, but I can't do it alone. Besides being a guitar player, I'm a big fan of the guitar. I love that damn instrument. But I've come to the point in my evolution on the instrument where I realize that I can't play the same stuff that just a guitar player or organ player would play, and I need to embrace that in a big way. I've only ever been in bands where I can be the punk rock guitar player in the band because that's all I want to do. I don't even know if I could do anything else. I think the singer in Pearl Jam should eat some Pearl Jam. He cannot sing to save his life, and the guitar player needs to seek help. A bass player has to think and play like a bass player. A drummer has to play and think like a drummer, and stay out of the way of the vocalist. The guitar player has to respect everybody else. I was never really a virtuoso guitar player per se. There's no leader of this band, and there never will be. That's the key. You can't control how the public perceives you. People see rock and roll bands as the guitar player and the singer. I used to play a lot of electric guitar. I don't really consider myself a guitar player anymore. Then I got really into how the pickups work, and winding and dewinding Telecaster pickups. And then building Telecasters. And I became more fascinated with making them than I was with actually playing them. So it's a slippery slope. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.